Hey, thanks for coming on today. I'm Mike Brooks from audIT. Everybody, as you can plainly see, I had to have a place to put the banner, so there it is. I'm with Lenny Galati today, who is the CEO of CyberTeam, New Jersey-based MSP. Lenny, thank you for
New
being
York,
here.
New York, New York.
New York. Where are you
Yeah, New
guys
York.
exactly? Where in New York?
Purchase, New York.
Purchase,
Right.
New York.
Yeah, a
So
little
that
north of the
is
city.
that is. I am in Connecticut, so we're probably
Oh,
close. We'll have to have lunch sometime.
oh,
How
okay.
far away from White Plains are you?
About 5 miles.
So yeah, we're right. I'm probably about 45 minutes from you.
Okay,
So yeah, I'll have to buy you lunch sometime, man.
okay, no problem.
So thanks for coming on, and folks who are listening, audit clients and folks who use audit or not use audit yet. This is really for you guys on to talk to people who are actually using the system, so that you can maybe get some ideas on how you best can use the system as well. So yeah, Lenny, tell me about your business, and tell everybody about your business and what you do, how long you've been there, and all that good stuff.
Sure. We got started in 1999, so almost 20 years
Wow,
now.
cool.
Started out outsourced outsourced IT and break fix, and then maybe about 2005 we went to MSP, the
Cool.
recurring revenue model. Um, Very happy about making that move because life's been much better since. Never go back to the break fix world.
Are you done with break fix? Like, do you have any break fix clients at all, or is that kind of all behind you?
No, we don't. That's all behind it. I mean, if somebody calls us, we might do something for them, but it's like so rare. Everybody's on a contract.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Can,
yeah.
can you share any details about like what size MSP you are, from like how many clients, how many clients do you have? If you want to share, you don't have to share a revenue number, but if you have a revenue range, you can kind of, just so people can kind of gauge where you are, um, to understand, where they should be.
Yeah. We're very close to the 2 million mark annually. I have 8 full-time techs, engineers. Um, what was the other question? What else did you want
That
me
was
to
it. That
cover?
was perfect.
Okay,
That was,
okay.
really just kind of a gauge of where you are in revenue, and
Mhm.
clients, how many clients you're
Oh
managing.
yeah, we have about 50 on contract. Yeah, all
Awesome.
different sizes, small, medium, and large. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
and we don't focus on any particular vertical right now.
Mhm.
Working towards that is just the way things have worked out for us. We get them from all sorts. Yeah.
Cool. So tell me how you do, you've been, I don't even know how long you've been using audit. You've been using audit for quite some time. You might be an original member, if that's memory
Yeah, I
serves me
think
correct.
it might be, I don't know, 4 years now,
Yeah.
something like
So
that. Yeah.
you've probably been on it since the beginning. Tell me about your process, how you guys do your presentations, what you're, and I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're using audit for QBRs and sales presentations.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about it. What you're doing for your, how you're doing all that.
Sure. So a typical scenario on the sales side is, we'll get a lead, go out there, and I typically try to do a really good job at assessing on that visit
Mhm.
because you get a number of leads where maybe half of them could be a waste of time. Depends, right? So I'm trying to qualify them and do a really good assessment. I really not into doing like a rapid fire tools type of assessment and spending that much time on
Mhm.
that. For us, anyway, I know other MSPs like to do that. But I'll basically do a general assessment that is aligned with filling in the boxes on the audit on the 4 quadrants. So I'm looking to make sure that when I go back, I can populate those boxes with the correct answers. So I'll make sure that I basically, get those answers prior to, and how I'm going to build a strategy on where they should be.
Gotcha. You,
Um,
you print out the fact finder and use that?
I do print it out. I do find it that I don't have enough time to jot everything down there. So I usually will jot some things down, and then because of the conversations and how that conversation goes, I'll make notes afterwards on the fact finder. But yeah, so I do sort of a hybrid, a little bit of a guerrilla style fact finder, and I try to follow what's on there. But that's generally the guideline I go with. So after that call, I basically let them know that I'm going to perform, I let them know in the beginning, I'm going to perform an audit on you and basically set a standard for your size business, where I think you need to be. And when I come back, I'm going to come back with an audit that we can look at and discuss and identify the gaps that you have and give you ways to close those gaps. So when I go back, I basically fire up audit and fill in those boxes, print that out, and then put it in a nice little binder. And then I'll generate quotes for all the red boxes, and and that's how they can close those gaps. And I usually make an appointment with them on the first appointment for the second appointment to present. So I don't want to chase them down in between.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And then I go back and I present it and I walk through each page, show them the comparison plan, right? So I have the initial audit baseline. Let's say they get a score of 60, show them the comparison plan and where they can improve. And let's say that puts them at 95, 100, whatever it may be. And here are the quotes that, recommendations I call them, that can close those gaps. And you don't have to do all of this today, but let's make a plan to do it. And through our QBRs, if you were to sign on as a client, this is what we're going to follow. We're going to keep you in the green as we go. And it doesn't all have to happen, tomorrow, but at least we have a plan. And usually they're comfortable with that relationship and they understand what that means going forward.
Cool. Now, do you, so when you get out there and do the audit for folks, for prospects, do you sell the audit or do you do it free? Like what's your process there? Somebody calls you up and wants to have you come in.
In the past, until recently, I've been not selling the audit. It's been part of my sales process and included, but I'm not doing a full-on deep audit. What I have been doing, because I was on the last one of the last webinars with you guys, I did just recently sell one, trying that what Frank was doing with I think $500, and I'll give you $1,000 back if you sign up with us towards implementation or anything like that.
It's charge. Well, there's a couple different ways. He may have. I think the standard way he does it is he'll tell him it's $1,000, and then he's taking $500 off. So he'll give him a discount for today, right? So it's $1,000 normally, but you're going to get just $500 off, and then he gives him that $500 back.
Right.
In the first month.
I just charge him $500 now with a discount or whatever, if I mention that, right, and then give him that $1,000 later. Yeah. I just did that, and that worked out pretty well actually yesterday.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that I can do that. I'll pull that out when it fits. But yeah, that is now an option, right? To charge for audits for sure. Yeah.
Do you go by feel? Like when you're doing that, you get a gauge of a person. Okay, this is a person I need to do this for free for, or this is a person I can charge for an audit. Like how do you determine who you're gonna?
Yeah, it's a good question. The first thing is, I'm trying to weed people out right away, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're not willing to spend any money on anything, and IT, they just don't have a budget for IT or don't care to spend any money, then I may pull that out immediately to qualify them, going forward. I did it in different ways prior, where I got right into the budget question of, to have proper IT, you need to spend some money. And, obviously we're not looking to spend $1 million here, but we need to spend a reasonable amount to maintain what you have and keep you out of trouble. So what is your budget for that? What in your mind is your budget? And if they respond, well, I'm not trying to spend any money ever, or something that, lends itself to that, then I'm going to start narrowing down the conversation and keep it simple and get out of there as soon as I can. I try to size it up too by looking at their business prior to and doing the research
Mm.
prior to getting there, sizing them up and seeing what probably their needs are and what kind of revenue they may be generating to get an idea of what I'm walking into so I can steer the conversation when I get there. So I do a little of, background checks beforehand. But, those are the kinds of things that I'll say and ask. And then, but I am going to start doing more of it's, $1,500 for an official proper audit. That's where we start. What are your feelings on that? And if they're receptive, then that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a great way to qualify them out. Do you find you're competing with people? Like I guess let's back up to how you get your clients, how you get those appointments in the first place. Are you reaching out? Are you people referring? Is it a combination of advertising and your marketing?
Sure. Right now for us, what's been hot is doing the speaking engagements. So I belong to a couple of different groups and got invited to, in a kind of, you run into like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon type of situation where, your name gets out and then this guy tells that guy and they want you to speak here and do this and do that. So cybersecurity has been very hot, obviously. I'm a CISSP, so I have a good education there on that front, and I'm able to go ahead and speak on the subject matter and really scare people into signing up with us. Usually, just did one the other night. I think about 30 business owners were there. Got a couple to sign up right away, right after the talk.
And you pitched them on an audit? Is that way, like you pitched them on?
Yeah, I pitched them on. Well, I did it, sort of where the bait and switch, where you offer them some nuggets of here's an education on cybersecurity and what you should do with your business, but at the same time, I'm shamelessly going to plug my company and tell you how you can solve all of that. And I'll have an order form on the table, in front of them that they can sign up.
Yeah.
So,
brilliant.
and then I have the numbers on there, which also weeds them out right away. If they're not looking to pay $35, $45 a station for a security bundle, then you're not a customer, right? You're not a candidate. So
Right.
that helps too. So yeah, I found that works. That many to one, scenario is great. Love it. That's the way I'd like to do things. But we're doing a lot more with Robin Robbins now and getting that sort of lead nurturing, cold calling system in place. So that's still in development. So really up till this point it's been the speaking engagements and referrals mostly
Right.
for us currently. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's not a bait and switch at all, man. You're getting up there, you're giving your time, and every MSP should feel that way. Is you're giving your time and you're giving people a good education. The next logical step is, hey, you can go take this information and do what you will, or if you want to have us take a look at it, I mean, you're doing them a disservice if you don't offer your service. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's great. And you use, so now that's what you do to get new customers, and then obviously you're doing QBRs as well.
Yeah. So audit's been great for the QBRs. I mean, I've had comments, feedback like, you guys are really up in your game. They hold on to our audits for to provide as evidence to the parties, the vendors that they work with, to show what the covered entities that they work with are doing. So they use it and they hold on to it. And visually it's very easy with the whole the stoplight method. So it works really well. And just for me, managing the VCIO process, using the audit, the audit for QBRs it just makes it really easy for me. I used to spend a lot of time generating documents, maybe I was telling you the other day, 5 or 6 hours, and now it's 2 hours or less, depending on how much I need to think about it, really. But the audit part's faster. It's pretty fast, but you put a little thought into that. It's been pivotal for the QBR process. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, are you doing all of I want to get a flavor for people who are at, $200,000 a year revenue or $500,000 a year MSP, trying to get to $1 million to $2 million. So one of the challenges, obviously, for MSPs is how do I how do I do all this stuff? Now, are you doing all of the audits yourself, all of the sales and QBRs, or do you have folks also doing it, like a biz dev person? What's your structure like?
Yeah, I'm doing all the sales, outside sales, right?
Right.
Anything inside with existing clients, aside from new projects or new initiatives, I have an inside person doing that piece. But any outside sales I am doing, and then I'm the VCIO right now. I have plans to bring in another VCIO, but I am the VCIO and I do the QBRs. So it all aligns for me. I mean, we're 8 people, but that's really not big, It all aligns where I'm selling the things that I would normally bring up in a QBR, and it's aligning for the relationship going down the road. So that's why I always tell them, look, these are all the recommendations. These are all the gaps that we found. Don't have to do it all today, but in our process, in our QBR or VCIO program, it's going to be part of the plan going down the road, right? So, and that's consistent throughout, because as we maintain the strategic plan and align with the comparison plan that we generate through audit, that supports that and keeps the conversation going to pick up. And also the budget's there. So if we say you're going to migrate, you're going to overhaul your servers in Q4 of 2019. We know that right now you need to do that. So put aside $20,000 for that project by Q4, right? It's not a pressure situation where it's like tomorrow you have to do this. When am I going to get $20,000? By Q4, let's book it. You're approving it now? Great. We already know that the project's coming, so we're aligning our projects accordingly and our manpower accordingly. So that's great. It helps us internally because we know when we're going to do projects. It's not always, 5 projects at one time, right? We schedule them out and we stage them accordingly so that we can do a good job and not be rushed and all that. So it's helped a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you find that, I always love asking people this. This is like always enjoyable to me. Do you find people, they see the red on there and it's going to follow along, right? Like, so if Q1 you do something red or yellow on there, it's going to, and they don't change it, it's going to be there in Q2. Do you find that bugs people?
Yeah, it's very effective. Like, they're very simple. They don't understand the technology. You don't really need to talk to them too much about the technology. You might mention a nugget or two, but the red is very obvious to them that it's bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I hear that because I hear that all the time from MSPs that stories like people will say, the client leans in, just goes, all right, I'm going to just buy a green. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then the other thing I like to mention is too that, so I offer up the recommendations or quotes right then and there. I'm trying to save time, and I think that if you're going to buy and you're concerned about closing these gaps, that you're going to make a decision really soon about it. And if not, then you're just going to continue to have problems. I find that having the audit next to the quotes, there's really little discussion about the numbers, right, as long as it's not outrageous. In the past, before audit, for us, we would have the quotes, and we're trying to, build dialogue around that, and they're nitpicking the numbers. It's like the discussion. So now the discussion is, I have these red boxes, these gaps, and I have these vulnerabilities. How do I close them? That's the answer. Okay, that seems like a reasonable number. Let's do it. Or let's plan for it. Right. Much better conversation.
Are you using the estimated, the effective, are you putting the numbers into the plan, or are you leaving that portion blank and then just going off the proposal? Like, do you have okay, it's going to cost you $2,500 a month, and then you have that number in the estimated effective monthly expense?
Yeah, I have not been using that box. I'm a little challenged with using that box as far as for me. I talked to Frank about it, and I understand how you guys use it, but I have not been using it. I've been leaving it blank and just working around that piece.
Right, but it works. So, and that's why I love doing these, because what you're doing is different than what somebody else is doing, and what's different, and there's not just one right way to do it. And just because we say you should, we're just giving you the best. We're just giving you, here's the way we created it. Here's what we do here, and here's options for you. So I love hearing
Mm-hmm.
how it's working, and that it can work,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in many different ways. So when you leave that off, and then when you get to that point where they say, okay, let's talk about this red now, here's this quote for this, and then do you have a proposal at that point, or do you go kind of put proposal together later?
I mean, this is my sequence. So I present the baseline audit,
Mm-hmm.
show them all the red, and then I present the comparison plan. And I say I have quotes or recommendations to close these, which I will show you shortly. I don't want to confuse things. And then they understand that their score right now is a 40. And if you do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to be at like 95 to 100. Okay. Now let's talk about the solutions that I have in place. And then I try to group them and make them, the less decision points I can give them, the better, because, people get crazy. Then I just present the numbers and I say, look, to close these gaps right here, you do, migrate to Office 365, sign up for, email security. That's going to take care of that problem. $8,000. Okay, I'll do that. And then that's how I just present it. Yeah. I don't do it in between because I think it gets a little jumpy. I just make it clear in their head that this is their score now, this is what it could be, and this is how we solve it. And I just do that 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any interesting stories, or any kind of funny stories that have or success stories that have happened, or like
yeah, I mean, not sure how funny, but success. I've been adding ID agent into the discussion, which ID agent and the dark web monitoring is a pretty powerful tool. So doing the free scan that you can do with ID agent on their domain.
Yep.
I've been producing that report and putting it in with the proposal or the presentation that I do when I go back and present the audit report, and I show them, and usually that scares the bejesus out of them. I mean, when I show them a partial reveal of one of their passwords, and they realize that this is really a problem.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and you get some really startled looks and concerned faces at that point, and it helps the sales process. Yeah.
Love it. Anything that you do, anything else that you do with audit that other MSPs may not be thinking of or feel is unique? Anything that you can, and any different advice that you may have?
I would say, maybe nothing revolutionary, but something small but could have a great effect is the quality of your report, and the paper and the printer that you use. So I've seen, and I've been through the process, it sounds small, but it's really a big deal, is using high quality paper.
That's interesting.
Because the feel of it, when they're flipping the pages, if it feels like quality, then it usually means quality. You know how it is. If you pick up fabric and it feels like, a potato sack, you may not buy that as your next, winter coat, right?
Yeah.
But if it feels good in your hands, that transmits right to your brain, and that's a good start. And if it looks good too, and the colors pop a little bit, especially with the boxes, right? And that red pops out nicely, and it's not like, blotchy or anything. And that's why you need a good, color laser inkjet printer. I think that if you focus on producing a nice printed document, I think it'll help your cause.
Yeah, that's actually really brilliant advice. I mean, that's smart.
Yeah.
Any success stories that you've had that stand out to you? Like, anything, thinking back to the first time you used audit, or, whether it's with a client or prospect, anything stand out to you as kind of like, wow, this is something neat.
Yeah. I mean, the thing it has changed for us, I think the biggest impact that has had on us is the fact that it's always difficult to talk to somebody about spending more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that, where does that conversation come up? When do you bring it up, right? When's the right time? And how do you present that? And, the old fashioned way was, I'm going to have to call them out of the blue somehow, get an appointment with them, which is tough, and then drop some quotes in front of them. But the audit process really, and through doing the QBRs, it just creates, it's expected now. It's expected to have a conversation once every quarter or whatever the frequency is for that particular client, to have a conversation about where we stand, what is it that we need to do to close these gaps, and you're expecting a number. So it's not uncomfortable. It's given us a vehicle to present this stuff when we need to, like any overhauls or recommendations of new technology. So it really has had an impact on all of on us tremendously and all of our clients. And we're having conversations on a regular basis about new stuff that they need to do, and we have it on a schedule. So it's really changed more than you would think. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So aside from, I mean, and this doesn't have to be about audit, just about in general, like what advice would you give an MSP who's maybe a one-person shop, and kind of struggling to get to that next step, or maybe somebody who's got one person, but they're running crazy, because a lot of times I talk to the MSPs of all sizes, and especially the smaller guys, they'll, whether it's something that's real or imagined, they'll say, I don't have time to go out and get clients, or I don't have time to go do QBRs, or not doing enough sales presentations, or, they're looking to kind of, get going and get moving. What's some, I know that's a broad question, but.
Yeah. So I would, if I were a one person shop and looking to grow with, some controlled growth, I would focus on the product at hand, the product that I'm offering today. Because once you make that solid, you can grow and build off of that, right? So what is your offering? Number one, are you still trying to be break fix, or more like a traditional, MSP? You definitely need to get away from break fix. We all know that. And then build out your product. And what is your product? What is your offering? So you have your managed services and all of that stuff. But I think the differentiator, even though a lot of MSPs do it, but if you do it well, then at least you're it's a wash, is offer a VCIO program where you're the trusted advisor, right? And it's a different conversation. And through that, you use something like audIT to provide and do the QBRs with. It makes that easy. And you're having this conversation. And the conversation you have is with somebody who trusts you as a trusted advisor. You're presenting yourself as a VCIO. Do not present yourself as a technician. They're not going to have business conversations with technicians. They want to have business conversations with somebody of a C-level executive type who has a seat at the table. And most of the times when you build that trust, the answer is, I've had many conversations where they're just flipping through the quote and they're just like, okay, just do it. And it's over.
Because they trust you.
Yeah, they trust you. And you need to build that trust and maintain the client base that you have now. Because when you get new ones, if it's just a revolving door of clients, then you're never going to grow. You need to keep your client base that you have now by focusing on having a good offering now and build on that. The rest is marketing and then adding to your team as you can afford to do so. Get with Robin Robbins or something like that and start building that marketing engine and get those leads in. But I'd focus, make sure that the product offering that you have right now is rock solid, and also the technology that you use.
Right. Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for your time, Lenny. Really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and we love having you as a member of our audit family here. So look forward to seeing you at the next event. But we got to get together. We're close enough, man. We got to get together for lunch.
I'll be waiting.
All right. Great.
All right. Well, thank you. Good talking to you.